Welcome to Business on Top, where women are building empires, becoming breadwinners, and redefining the dynamics of their households without a playbook. I'm Kaeli Lindholm, mom, wife, founder, and leadership advisor to a portfolio of female-owned businesses generating over $100 million in annual revenue. Most business advice was never designed for women leading and building at this level. That's why each week I'll open the vault and share a leadership lesson from real experience, so you can navigate the decisions you're making every day with confidence. If you're a serious female founder and leadership feels messy right now, you're in the right place. We are rewriting the rules for this next era of how women lead and build. This is Business on Top. Let's go. Hello, leader. Welcome back to Business on Top. And you are tuning in to leadership lesson number 7, Don't Just Learn, Activate. It's Kaeli here. And listen, I think one of the biggest misconceptions that founders have is that they're just one tactic away from unlocking some magical next level. I'll see them attend conferences, listen to podcasts, fill notebooks with ideas, save posts on Instagram, and still look up a year later operating exactly the same way. And the reason is information alone does not create transformation. Activation does. And I've experienced this so many times in my own life and business. Over the years, I can't even tell you how many people have asked me how to do certain things, how to start a podcast, as an example. I've shared my equipment list, my editor, my workflows, my recording process. I literally have an SOP mapped out step by step for how to launch a podcast. And yet, out of every 10 people or so who ask me for the information, maybe 1 or 2 actually launch. And an even smaller percentage continue recording consistently even 6 months later. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just such a powerful and practical example of the difference between learning and activation, because learning how to do something is rarely the thing that is actually preventing us from achieving that next level. I see this all the time with providers attending clinical training after clinical training, waiting till they feel ready instead of just pushing themselves to adopt the techniques that they're learning in real practice. See, most people know more than enough to create life-altering change in their business or life. The gap is just them getting activated. It's the willingness to commit, to show up and to continue showing up after the excitement wears off, to put yourself in environments where growth becomes expected and normalized and reinforced, and to stay in the work long enough for your identity to catch up with the vision you have for yourself. Activation is when a founder fully steps into the work of becoming the leader their next level requires. They embody it. And that's exactly why I'm so excited for this week's episode and today's panel conversation around the transition from being a provider to becoming a CEO in your business. Because you're going to hear from 3 powerhouse women who have done this work, women who are members inside of our Pop Leadership Academy, who didn't just consume information, they fully invested in themselves and they activated. Jill Keynes, Shannon Morrow, and Dr. Jill Goodman are all from different states, different business models, and completely different stages of growth. But what ties them together is their willingness to go all in on their leadership development and operational evolution. These women are women that can look back over the past year and clearly see how differently they lead, think, communicate, decide, and operate, because they committed not just to learning, but to creating real activation in their businesses and lives through their work with KLC. And if you are ready to activate, I want to personally invite you and your practice manager to join us at our upcoming Owner and Practice Manager Intensive in Chicago, because sustainable growth at this stage requires different forms of activation. And the Pop Leadership Academy and our Practice Manager Academy are designed for your long-term operational leadership development, implementation, accountability, and ongoing refinement over time. But we wanted something that could really just hit home in 2 days. And so Chicago is very different. Chicago is about compression. It's protected space for owners and practice managers to fully step outside of the reactive operations that are going on in the day-to-day of your business and to architect the business together in real time, to pressure test their leadership structure, their relationship, their operational systems, accountability, communication, and scalability with us in the room beside you. But the value is not just in the 2 days themselves. The value is what happens afterward. The depth of alignment, the way that you're able to implement, make decisions, and just smooth, polished operational refinement. How does that sound? I really believe that many founders are professionally educated, but operationally underactivated. It doesn't matter how many meetings you have with your manager. It feels like you can't quite climb out of the never ending to do list or relieve yourself of that quiet hum of disappointment that, the ask you are making is not quite translating into that lasting change inside of your company. Maybe you're still too over involved operationally because the systems need some refinement. So make this your moment to stop asking, what else do I need to learn? And start asking, what do I need to fully operationalize, embody, and activate as the leader of my company? And that's what today's conversation is about. So you can learn more about our upcoming Chicago Intensive or book a discovery call with our team at klcconsultants.com/leadership intensive or through the link in the show notes. And without further ado, please enjoy part 1 of our Alt Provider to CEO panel on business leadership lesson number 7, Don't Just Learn, Activate.
Okay, I have been so excited for this panel, the Provider to CEO Identity Shift. So I have 3 powerhouse women up here, beautiful, talented, wealthy, healthy, and impactful, and free. But they weren't always like that. These women were sitting right here last year, and I remember the look in your eyes, Shannon, help me. And they have invested so much into this past year, really pouring into their work in the academy. And so I invited them all to come and talk about their experience, mainly what we're describing, which, is this idea of transitioning from the doer in your business to the builder of your business. We think about the identity shift, it really is like, how many of you call yourself when they ask, tell me what you do? What do you guys usually say? Like, I'm an injector. Oh, who says I'm a CEO? Oh, like it. Yeah, a few of you. So we're going to talk about embodying that. I want to introduce our panel, starting right here with Shannon Morrow. She's 22 years in dermatology and aesthetics, helping patients achieve natural, confident results. AMI National Trainer for Allergan, teaching advanced Botox and Juvederm techniques nationwide. Founder of Skin Perfected, a luxury science-backed practice focused on safety and authentic outcomes. And also a Chicagoan. Mm-hmm. And mom of 2.
Mom of 2.
Yes, very incredibly successful adult humans now. So
yes, we have a lawyer, hallelujah, yeah. and the other one sells real estate and does great. And he's getting married in October.
And there's that. Congratulations. And then in the middle here we have Dr. Jill Goodman. She is, what do you call the most interesting woman in the world? This one. She's already lived many lives. She's a board-certified OBGYN and owner and medical director of Radiance Medical Spa with over 20 years of clinical experience and expertise in aesthetics and hormone optimization, known for a refined, results-driven approach that combines medical precision with natural, balanced outcomes. She leads a high-performing team delivering advanced injectables, laser treatments, and personalized care rooted in clinical excellence and an elevated patient experience. She is also a former CPA. You never want to guess. This is one of those that actually has a question. When you go to some mixer or something and hey, we're going to go around the table and say something that no one would know about you. And you're like, I used to have a cat that was hairless or something. You're trying to think of something. And she's like, I'm an MD who was a CPA. Come on. Doesn't get better than that. Welcome. Thank you. Also a very successful mother of successful children, I shall say. Speaking of children, the segue to Jill Keynes, family nurse practitioner and founder of Face Forward Medical Aesthetics with a clinical background spanning primary care, ICU, and aesthetic medicine. Over 7 years of experience building and growing a results-driven aesthetics practice focused on natural outcomes and long-term patient relationships. Passionate about blending clinical expertise with an artistic eye to deliver exceptional results and a high-level patient experience. Tell them how many children you have. And they're all of what gender?
They're all boys.
You can see why she evidently gets to the gym a lot. Yes. Well, congratulations from all of you and all your success. And I want you to be really not humble and just brag on yourselves. Show all these women what is possible. Okay, so I'm going to ask some questions. Some you'll be prepared for. I imagine this panel, you guys are going to have some questions to text in, so I have my phone here to pull those up, or you can just get on the mic as well. I'm totally fine with that. But I'll kind of just kick this off. So I actually, before we get into these scripted questions that I put together, I want to just kind of talk about, like, you guys were here in this room, each of you 1 year ago. You know, what was going through your mind when you were here watching and listening to these other women who are talking about this provider to CEO identity shift?
That they have their shit together and I'm a complete hot mess.
It's fair. How about for you, Jill?
I think I realized, like, I just had a business that was just built to function and not built to grow.
No, keep it up. We need to record and put it on a button still.
Krista's also my voice coach. So You're my voice coach?
I would say I texted my husband while I was sitting here and to talk about a return on investment, really. I was sitting in the same seat as many of you thinking, oh my gosh, I have so much work to do when I get back. Like, this is so overwhelming. I'm so far behind. And I was able to see, even just doing this worksheet today and just listening to what other people are experiencing, like, I was there a year ago and I'm not there anymore.
So amazing. I love that. Like, we always say, just trust the process and, like, come in and let us do the work, you know? And it's so cool and empowering to see that you just showed up and put the things in place. And was it easy? Was this past year easy? No, not, but worth it. So looking back, was there a specific moment when you realized that clinical excellence alone was not going to be enough to take the business where you wanted it to go? And what changed in how you saw your role when that happened?
I can't say there was a specific moment, but I knew that it was going to be virtually impossible for me to be in a room consistently seeing patients every day of the week if I really wanted to grow and scale my business with this big plan that I have in my brain. So, and I also knew that my team really needed a better leader. That was one of the biggest things that pushed me to do this, because I felt like I was falling short for them, and I felt like that wasn't fair to them. They needed somebody who could be calm, collected, coach them, tell them the hard things that they need to know, but in a nice way, and not be quite so direct, because I'm sort of a direct human. So this has really helped me to shift that.
So let's talk about that practically. So I think we can definitely say, and I think a lot of us logically know, like, I can't be two places at once, and I need to not be injecting 5 days a week if I want to build my team and build my business, but I'm the one who makes the money. So how do you actually navigate that?
Well, I finally took the leap and hired a nurse practitioner. That was really, really hard for me, because I knew I knew what outcomes I could give. And I know that there's plenty of other good injectors out there, but I have such a huge tie to my patients. I mean, some of these patients have been with me for 20 plus years, and they've followed me around, and I'm like, how could I have somebody else treat them as well as I treat them? And that was a huge control thing I had to realize I had to give up. But if it wasn't for you guys teaching me how to actually look for and hire that nurse practitioner, I don't think I would have been able to find the right person. And she's definitely, she blows me away every day.
I love that. What about for you ladies? Do you feel like that, it sounds like Shannon talking a lot about scale, you have to find somebody that you can trust to be a team partner with you, right, in your growth plan. Has that been the same experience for you both?
I've had a nurse practitioner with me for a while, and then I had another nurse practitioner who was not as productive, and she did not stick around with us. I think for me, it wasn't about clinicians. It was about leaders within my practice. There were no other leaders within my practice. So I've been dragging my feet hiring a practice manager or an operations manager because I had one that really did not work out. It was my worst hire ever. And I was sitting here last year saying I was hiring somebody, and I'm still sitting here today saying I'm hiring someone, but I promoted my esthetician to a director of aesthetics, and that really put her in a leadership role. And I also gave some, autonomy to my other providers in my practice, which helped me step away.
I'm curious, I have to ask, what specifically were you texting your husband?
Oh, I said, it's, this ROI, there's nothing more reassuring than sitting around knowing and seeing the growth that you've had over the year.
Oh, I love that. I'm happy for you. So what mindset shifts were required for you to begin thinking like a CEO rather than primarily identifying yourself as a provider? Jill G.
My situation was a little different because I was, working 60 hours a week as an OB and sort of just like running the med spa, like not really doing anything and letting them run around. And so then when I took it over 3 years ago and then stepped in full time, it wasn't so much that I was the main provider, but it was then I tried to kind of do it a year by myself and just floundering, and came here and found this community. And so it's just been like teaching me to be a much better leader and more confident in what I'm doing. And every little call, like I pick up something, like Meg was like, yeah, we hire new injectors and we pay them nothing for 3 months pretty much. And I was like,
talk about that
I'm
later.
going to take that little page. And that's what I just did. I just hired a nurse for $20 an hour. And I was like, hey, everyone wants to work in aesthetics. So they want to come work for us. And I know we're always like, we need an injector, we need to hire, but like you guys, we are the creme de creme of where like all these, professionals want to come work if you have the right environment. And so I think that's what I've learned, is to kind of step into that role and be elevated in that responsibility, I guess.
So can you just go dive like one layer deeper on that? Because I think people are like, don't pay your injector. How do I sign up for that plan?
Yeah.
So it sounds like, what you're saying is your growth as a leader, a lot of what you're embodying now is just the confidence in what you have to offer in general, right? And so I think when you believe in yourself and this is a great place to be, I hold high standards and high expectations, but also give high support.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to train and mentor and teach you and help you grow, then there's a value exchange.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk about what that looks like for you.
The whole thing is you're going to spend, I'm probably going to spend $15,000 on this nurse in the first 6 to 9 months, training her up, on the Cytons, on the everything. And then, so we also have a contract that she'd have to pay some of that back. But it's that value exchange, and there's a training process. And then once you get through that, then you're going to graduate to a regular pay and be eligible for commission and benefits and all those lovely things that everybody wants. And then there's no cap on them. The busier you are, the more successful you're going to be. And I think that's the model I didn't have before. I was limiting my staff because I was like, I got to keep the money. And it's like, if you empower them to make more money, then you're going to in turn make more money. And it's not all about that, but it has been a big shift now when instead of sitting around with a 30-minute block with them not doing anything, they're like, hey, can you call so-and-so and see if she can just come in today instead of next Thursday? Because they know that's just going to up their revenue, so.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's finding the right fit of somebody who is all in on that culture, right? Yeah, instead of trying to mold somebody who's not going to get there. Meg's going to hire a PA and not pay her for 3 months. She better be hungry. Yeah.
But now they make a lot.
Right.
So they gotta lean in.
Yeah, love it. Jill C., where did your leadership ask you to grow personally in ways that you may not have anticipated when you first started your business?
I think when I first started, I had so much confidence in myself clinically. I knew that I could treat any patient and meet patients' expectations in regard to outcomes. But as a leader, I did not know how to step into that at all. And so I had to learn, I hate confrontation. I don't like confrontation, but there's a difference between confrontation and setting boundaries and holding people accountable. And I had to grow into that. I had to learn how to have very uncomfortable conversations, and I still cringe when I have to have them. But in the back of my head, I know that those conversations are what got me to where I am now, and I'm going to continue to have really difficult conversations to get to the next level from here as well.
Do you feel like you're better at it now that you've had practice?
I do. I try to take the emotion out of it now, because I think as women, you feel so, you want to comfort people, and as nurses too, you just feel bad for people's feelings. You don't want to make anyone feel bad. But at the end of the day, I try to take more of like a masculine approach and think, this is business. Like, this is business, and nobody here will have a job if we continue to run a practice like this. So that's helped me be able to get through some of that.
So have all of you experienced employee turnover?
Yes.
Okay. We talked earlier, just, it's this tough balance that we have, right? Of like wanting to create a really great environment that people want to work. We want to make it feel safe for them. We want to provide opportunity. And also, we struggle when it's not the right fit. We blame ourselves that like we did something wrong, right? Probably because of that. And something that's, I think, counterculture that we talk about in Kelsey is just sort of normalizing employee turnover in the sense of, to what Heidi's point of, as you scale, your business continues to grow. You have to have somebody who is growing to grow into the roles that the business needs, right? When you all have experienced, how have you managed? Because I think it does feel very painful in that time, in that moment. And now that you've been through it, how would you advise anyone in the room who is struggling with, and in that place, struggling with the fact that people are leaving or someone important left and now they're scared of what is to come?
I would say that in every one of those scenarios, it always brought something better on the other side. It helped me grow personally and take a look deep inside and figure out what I needed to do differently. Did I give that person the tools? Did I verbalize my expectations of them? Did I hold them accountable? Was I having follow-up meetings? Was I tracking KPIs? Were they aware of their KPIs? But then if they left, it really allowed me to hire somebody who I was able to find that could meet all of those expectations. I was able to communicate that better.
I love that you said that. You're able to communicate that better to them right up front, because you probably, like, we all have those expectations in our head. We hold people to expectations whether we communicate it to them or not, and then we become frustrated when someone doesn't read our mind.
No. It'd be so much easier if they did.
I know, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So let's talk about, and whoever wants to answer, but since you sort of alluded to this, Shannon, like, I think when we talk about scaling, we can look at the math and say, okay, hire another provider, get them full to this capacity, boom, 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 right? And this sort of just operational process. But what you mentioned is that you have relationship with patients over all of these years. And we do work that feels good for us, right? We value and cherish those relationships in the work that we do. And so there is an emotional piece that doesn't get talked about a lot that we hold on to, which is like, well, now what? What about me? Or I'm afraid somebody else won't take care of them. How do you get through that? How do you navigate that internal dialogue?
Well, I would say I'm still navigating that at this point in time, but it's really releasing the control and understanding that somebody else can actually do it, and quite possibly do it even better than I can, that's a hard pill to swallow, because I feel like I'm very good at what I do. But I know it's actually, as I keep moving forward, and it's like, okay, now I don't see patients this many days of the week, which is really, I haven't pulled back that much, so don't give me a pat on the back for that. But I've learned that it actually is starting to bring me more joy to not be in the patient room, because it's like I get to do my next job. It's like the next thing that God built me for. I get to do the next thing now, and I get to then have people around me on my team that then get to do more too. Because I'll give them the opportunities to do what they want to do, with guardrails. Because I want everyone around me to grow too. So it's like now I'm getting to the point where I'm more comfortable with, I'm moving into my next phase of my life. And thankfully I'm not too old, I can still do that. But it's still really hard. Like when I looked at my tag and it said PAC CEO, I went, oh, I guess, yes, that is who I am. But I just, even though I'm sitting here talking to you guys, and this is the title of it, I think I forget that is actually my new title and my new job. But it takes time, I guess.
Well, that's why it's an identity shift as well. Nailed it. Jill, how has that been for you? Your practice, again, like a little bit of a different process for you building your, having your OB practice, the med spa. Do you feel like did you skirt by that emotional scaling thing where, the other provider, can they do it as good as me? Do you feel like you got to skip the line on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a big shift. Like we had a huge OB-GYN practice, there's 7 providers and, just so many patients that you then got to know and, delivering 5 of their kids over 15 years, that's really hard to step away from. And a lot of them, come to the spa, that type of thing. So it's kind of fun to have those relationships. But I think just to another point with building the team and that type of thing, I think one thing for all of us to remember, aside from when you very first start your business, one person does not a team make. So even your best injector that is going to leave you and go start their business and put up a billboard next to Jolie's business, that is not going to destroy your business. It's really not. It's going to hurt and it's going to suck and it's not going to feel good, but one person does not a team make. So you got to know that by doing this next level, you're doing the work to make an amazing team. And as Jolie said, she's heads and shoulders above that other place that already shut down. So you just kind of have to remember that.
Yeah. You almost just want them to fail only so you could say, I told you so. And then they can go be successful later. It's just a thank you would be nice or something like that, right? Yeah. No, that's hard. I also think that the reps don't go away. Amber talked about this morning. Every thing you do, you're building skills. Every experience you have, you're building a depth of just a database of knowledge and experience and wisdom to tap into to take you to the next level. And I just don't think someone can't take that. They can't take that from you. I mean, even that in itself, someone leaving and starting their own business, Yeah, that's crazy. Let's kind of talk about learned lessons. What's been the hardest part of growing your business, Jill?
I would say it was probably looking back at my leadership in the beginning. I think even my worst hires, I don't know that I necessarily communicated well with them, set my expectations from the beginning. To what you always say, we find people when we're floundering in a hurry, we hire because we're desperate. And I think as a result of that, I didn't necessarily lead them appropriately. So looking back, and I think my providers who've stayed, to what Shannon was saying, they wanted that for me. They wanted structure, they wanted accountability, and they wanted to know what their growth path was within the company. So I think I cringe when I think about the way that I led my team when I first opened my practice to the way that I lead them now. And I think that my providers who've been with me really just love and appreciate me stepping back from the bedside and diving more into the CEO role.
So Shannon, I'm still gonna ask a follow-up, pass it off so fast. It's such a girl thing. After she finishes, she just hands it right over. So Shannon had mentioned when we talk about the you said you cringe, which we all have those cringy moments. Like, that's such a good question. Like, when were you the cringiest when you built your business, you know? And wanting to make sure that you now, obviously, clarity, expectations, making sure you show up for them in a certain way. We have people in here who are just hiring their first employee, and you said, you know, it's scary, you hire like out of desperation, or you got to plug a hole. Like, when is the time, how do you know when it's time to hire your first or your next employee?
I mean, I think I still struggle with when I should hire, like what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Like, are you totally burnt out and you need to stop, or are you trying to build and grow somebody into something? I don't know that there's a right answer to that. What I would say though is when you do decide to hire, it is possible to light a fire. If somebody has passion and they want to be successful, if you can be as clear as possible from the beginning and set expectations, even if you only have one employee, it feels weird. Like, you're having a performance review, like you feel so imposter syndrome. Like, is this really what I should be doing? But truly, that's what people are seeking from you. They are your employee and you are their employer, and they are looking for that type of structure. So I would say from just the very beginning, you know, have quarterly reviews, have annual performance reviews, set very clear expectations, KPIs, even if it feels very unofficial. Like, that's what people really want.
That's great. What about friends with employees? Is that okay?
I would say no, not.
I want to hear that from all of you.
I'm going to say no, and I will also say my first hire was quite possibly my worst hire, who happened to be a friend of mine, and she was an esthetician, and it was an absolute catastrophe. Like, I couldn't have even imagined it going worse than it went. But I think part of the problem is she was a friend of mine, and how do you be the boss to your friend? You can't do it. You absolutely cannot do it. So all of the girls that work with me, I love them, I care about them, but I do have to keep everybody at an arm's length because it just causes too many issues. So definitely don't ever hire a friend. Somebody has. You did. And it works really well. Wasn't Shannon your friend?
How do we answer? Where's Shannon? Oh, okay.
She's not there.
Shannon was like my mom sit on the bench at the games friend. She wasn't like
a good friend.
Yeah, she wasn't like we grew up and like were BFs or anything like that. Okay. But she was somebody I knew and trusted and in that capacity. I think that was one. My husband was like, "Don't hire her. Like, do not. You're gonna ruin." And I was like, I mean this with the best, and it's worked out so well. So Shannon, I'm not talking about Shannon with her. But I was willing at that point in time, like I was so confident in how phenomenal she would be as a team member with me, as a partner in my business, that I was willing to sacrifice the level of friendship that we had in order to become that, right? And then we've grown in friendship in different ways, like the level of trust, and she knows everything. It's like people that can just read you, you know? And so I think, but it wasn't friends first. The friendship did evolve in a professional way. The lines are very clear, though, I think, with all of our team, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think it's a great idea. But I think another like aspect of that is like when you start and you're building your team, you're going to be really, really close with them, right? You guys are all going through something together, building something together. Everybody feels like they're all the same, but at the end of the day, you're still the boss. And so the biggest thing is the clarity. And I think Krista always like says, like, think about, like I'm like, oh, I feel so, ugh. And she's like, well, what does your employee feel? And so you have to like look at it from both perspectives, and then just being completely clear, like, this is the policy for this. Like, I don't care that you've been with me 5 years. Everybody is going to pay this when they get a skin pin. That's just how it is, or whatever it might be. So I think that like kind of shifting from like being best buds, growing your business, to being like, I'm still the boss. Unfortunately, it's always not always fun, but
yeah.
If you are listening to this and something in you is stirring, I want you to know this is exactly where the work begins. This is the space between where you've been leading reactively and where you are being asked to lead from a new framework. And the truth is that next level of leadership doesn't come from more information. It comes from putting yourself in rooms and environments that challenge how you think, how you decide, and how you show up inside of your business. That's exactly why we built the Pop Leadership Academy. It's a space for founders who are no longer looking for surface level strategy, but who are ready to evolve how they lead, how they build, and how they scale so the businesses they create can fully support the life they want to live inside of. You can learn more about the Pop Leadership Academy and apply through the link in show notes. And in the meantime, get more inspiration delivered directly to your inbox through my weekly briefing, The Blueprint, at klcleadership.com/blueprint. Until next time, keep leading life first and business on top.